Hey guys, just here at the cabin, and just wanted to share with you how I know this is simple to a lot of you, but to many out there who are not used to using wood stoves and wood heat, particular ones with glass doors. They have gaskets, of course, around the exterior of the door, like a fire resistant, obviously, good for high heat. And they also have one around the glass pane, which is on the inside. And of course, you get your damper control, which controls the airflow for the rapid, or controls your fire burn. So, as you're all aware, oxygen is needed that's a part of the fuel to add for a fire. So, anyway, I've got larger junks. Once I get a good base of coals, like what's in here, and I'll show that to you shortly. I like to use larger stuff. Many times I'll use round wood, and that's usually it lasts longer. Once you got a good base of coals, it tends to last a lot longer, and you're not constantly adding wood. So you can go about your regular chores and those sorts of things. So anyway, this is juniper here. This is spruce here. Of course, both dry. I'm going to add a couple of them. There is enough room in there to add, but I'm going to show you why I add my wood this way instead of this way. When I put it in, I always put it this way. And the reason why I put it in that way, if you're using round wood, for example, like this smaller one, if I were to put that in the stove, load it in this way, there's that possibility that as it's burning and it's burning out, it can roll out and come up against the glass. It can crack and damage while you're gone or while you're asleep, and your place burns down. So I pick up a fireplace grate. It's steel, and it's a bunch of bars, and it holds the logs in place. So that's added security there. But as well, you can't just rely on that, because like I say, a lot of times the wood will shift as it's burning down, and it changes shape and formation in the stove. So I always add it this way. It goes in this way. That way it doesn't have the possibility of rolling out. And every time that you go to add wood, if you were to open the door and it happens to roll out, and then you got a fire log that's on your floor and is burning your carpet and smoldering. Trust me, I've learned this over the years. This is my this is coming up on 7 years now living here at this cabin. So this is my secondary source of heat. So when I'm here, I've got it going when it's needed. But for the most part, I use propane furnace, and I'll show that in another part of the video. But I'm just going to share with you. I won't carry on too much longer, but you can see I've got a poker that I always like to have access to, because you want to push the embers and the coals back to the back part of the stove, the wood stove. And I never let I don't, when I'm cleaning out the ashes, I don't take all of the ashes out, because you lose your base then for your heat, and you'll have no control over keeping heat in your wood stove with zero ashes. So, but you don't want ashes to be building up on the front part, so that when you do open the door to the stove, that all the coals will fall out. So as you can see, I got a good base of coals in there, and nice bit of heat. That's why I'm wearing gloves. It's important to wear gloves, because you may not feel the damage being done with the hot temperatures and that, but in the winter time you get drier humidity levels, extremely dry, especially here, and your hands will actually crack up and split, and you'll have some major issues. So you gotta protect your hands when using a wood stove. And as well, if something did happen with a flank or something popping out, then you're not picking it up with your bare hands to get it back in the stove. So as you can see, I don't know how well you can see it on the camera, this is the gasket here around the exterior of the door, and then there's another rope gasket around the glass. As you can see, my glass is cracked. It's split there and there. That was negligence. It was in the middle of winter. I had issues with the gasket leaking, so I had some misinformation told me to use stove cement to seal around the outside, around here. And for anybody that should have known, but common sense prevails here. You gotta, that glass has to be able, the glass does not contract and expand at the same rate as the steel does. So therefore, when I sealed that with stove cement around the exterior of the window of the glass, when I did add the fire and the stove heated up, the rate at which the glass and the steel expanded was different, and because of that, it caused pressure cracks because it didn't allow it to compact, to, you know, so stupid me. So, and these replacement glass, because they're high heat, this particular one, I think it's 7 by 15 inches, 160 bucks at the glass shop. So, you gotta look after it. But anyway, just simple. I like to put them bark side down, round side down. They tend to last a little bit longer. And there are techniques. I've got a pamphlet. It's with wood burning and wood stove use and how to build proper fires and types of fires and how to maintain heat and safety and that sort of thing. So I'll probably share that with you along with this video. But anyway, that goes in like so. This particular wood stove, it's an older one, but it does have bricks, fire bricks. So, and they generally, depending on the use and the amount of fires and how hot you're burning, but you will get a number of years. You could get up to 10 years. You may, on average, usually get about 5 years. But you want to change them out as well. So as you can see, I got the fire log rack. It's sitting right there. You can see this all right here. They're super hot. They're iron, so I shouldn't be touching them. But anyway, that's that. I don't like overloading my stove. That's pretty much it. If you've got a stove and you're constantly adding wood and you're forcing it in and trying to get it in and trying to force the door to get the door closed so that you can maintain comfort in your house or your dwelling, you need to upgrade to a larger size stove, because what you're doing is you're overheating the stove, you're overheating the steel, and you're increasing the chances of a potential fire hazard and burning out your stove prematurely. So I'm sweating now because of that heat, having the door open. But yeah, if you're doing what you can to keep your place comfortable and you've got no room to add more wood and you're constantly doing that, you need to upgrade to a larger size stove. This particular wood stove here, a lot of people say it's overkill for 480 square feet, but I had to remind you, this cabin was built with all recycled materials, old materials, recycled insulation, the old yellow fiberglass stuff, which is settled now. There's actually no board, or I had no board for an exterior wall. It's just clapboard siding right onto the studs. So this cabin is even though it's fairly draft tight and I've got it sealed pretty good, it can be very drafty, especially with windy conditions and minus 30s and minus 40s. So that's why I've got this size of a stove. This would normally heat a home 1,000 square feet without having to overload it. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that. That's my preference in how I load up the wood stove, and why I put the chunks of wood in the direction they go in is to eliminate the possibility of them rolling out, cracking the glass, and like I say, if you're going to bed and it happens and you're in a deep sleep and you don't have